And welcome back to Capitol Tonight. Well, it took 3 months longer than it was supposed to, but we're finally seeing a light at the end of the budget tunnel. Lawmakers and the governor may be a little worse for wear, not to mention the weary reporters who cover them. I know I am tired. Here now to break down the latest budget news are two guys who've spent a long time wading through the muddy waters of New York politics. They are our insiders. Bruce Jory served as a senior advisor to two former Democratic governors, and he is now with Corning Place Consulting and is an adjunct professor of political science at UAlbany. That's a mouthful. And Dave Catalfamo was Governor Pataki's communications director back in a former life. He's now with Capital Public Strategies. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to keep it very clean. Everybody's going to be happy at the end.
Sure.
Okay. So really, seriously though, we are really almost maybe going to finally possibly get a budget. So who's winning so far this budget war? Dave, you want to start?
I know who's losing.
Okay,
everybody
fair.
everybody who's a resident of New York State is losing.
Fair enough.
And there's $2 billion of new taxes coming down the pipe on Thursday in that revenue bill, on top of the $2,400 per family that's been put on every family in the last 2 years. So, you know, the loser is clearly everybody who votes, lives, wants to live, or is now currently packing their bags and trying to leave New York.
Okay, fair enough. Political strategy-wise, unless you want to pile on a little bit.
No, it's ending with a whimper, leading to a hiatus rather than a bang that's a conclusion, which means that we'll have a budget in place, but they're going to have to come back because, in effect, what you're going to see is the members are going to pine for the member items that got vetoed. If FMAP or the federal Medicaid money comes in and there's an extra billion, you know they're going to add to that. And then the governor has some clear priorities out there. The property tax cap, maybe, but SUNY,
Yeah, but
definitely.
Andrew Cuomo wants the property tax cap, so if not today, then maybe next year, right?
So, winner, Governor Patterson, who shows he's finally getting kind of his handle on the job.
You think? Because a lot of people think he got rolled by Shelley Silver.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, it's 2-on-1. I mean, and other governors have gone down this path, and it's very difficult.
Other governors.
Other governors in the past.
I seem to remember Governor Pataki who got overridden
other
by
governors have
some
gone down this path. And
legislators.
one more point. And the other loser, honestly, depending on whether or not you believe his efforts are sincere or not, are Andrew Cuomo. Either he is, one, actually just posturing and doesn't actually want the things that he's talked about. Two, is actually for them and is ineffective. Or three, most cynically, he actually wants there to be a huge tax increase to make his first year in office, which he assumes is a fait accompli, a reality. So all those things, you're a loser.
I think
Jump
that's,
in, Bruce.
I
Just
think,
have
I
at
think
it.
that's partisan spin. When you are
definitely
not,
is.
when you are not. Well, good. You conceded the point. Let's move on.
Oh, no, come on.
The real point is one that Bob Bellafiore made last week. All this talk about tactics, back and forth, political chess, and nobody's asking what we should be asking, which is what the voters want. What the voters want is clear. They want wasteful spending cut, they want programs that don't work excised, and they want investments in what works and what's needed to improve the business climate, education, transportation, MTA, etc. And you get none of that leading to what's going to make New York, whether from the Republican or the Democratic or an independent perspective, what's going to make New York a more competitive place in terms of business and job development.
But the question was who winners, losers, and it's why you know the Attorney General wanted this budget to be done, so he didn't have to wade into these issues.
But he's starting to.
But he's starting to because he's kind of stuck. But
Right.
it still goes back to either you're ineffective, and are you going to be effective as a governor, or you're not? And two, are you just going to be for platitudes? Well, we want to cut taxes. Oh, we want to have a property tax cap. Well, but there's very real things out there like the Public Higher Education Act or like the property tax cap. Those are things that could be effective and could be effective this year.
Hold on one second. Let me just ask this question. A quick one. You actually made mention of the member items, the $193 million.
Yes.
That's part of the 6,900 line item vetoes, and that is tedious, actually, that line by line. You guys went through it.
Yep.
So, okay.
It's kind of fun, actually.
Is it? Do you feel like actually power every time you do it? Power. But do you actually believe, you said you think they're going to pine for them and come back. That indicates to me no overrides. You do not believe they can muster enough support for overrides.
Simply because there's nothing the Senate Republican Conference, 30 strong, has no interest in helping bail the Democratic-controlled legislature.
Not even for education aid. Okay.
Because they also know the longer this holds out, they could come back selectively, perhaps, and get it with some other things. But right now, they're not playing. It's not going to be overridden. It's basically an ugly version of the scenario we discussed last week, where we said there'd be a two-house. There'd be a two-house budget. There'd be vetoes. I thought they'd do it a little more gentlemanly. But nothing's done gentlemanly
Not
in Albany
anymore. Do you
no
agree?
gentleman left in Albany.
Except on this show.
Only because Liz keeps us in line.
Because there's no blood on the table as we set up the ground rules when we started.
Right.
All right. But you agree, no overrides?
No overrides.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fine. So then do you agree with Bruce that actually we'll be coming back because this thing is going to be tenuously holding on for dear life in the Budgeting Balancing Act and then immediately will fall out?
It's hard to see it before the election. I mean, maybe after, but I have a hard time see them coming back to Albany for anything if they can help it. B, I mean, look, school districts pass their budgets.
Right.
The school aid thing, it is what it is. Everybody's absorbed that kind of locally. So now it's, can I get a member initiative form out in time before November? Right. I'm with you. They love to do it, but I think that the counterbalance of that coming back to Albany, wading into other issues, I don't think it happens.
Okay, let's go back to this question from political strategy standpoint. The governor put